Okay then, mate. Well, the first thing I'm going to do, just for our audience and for everyone listening to this so they know what's going on, is I'm going to do a quick intro. And I'm just going to say that everyone, it's Liam Hartree here back with you today. This is episode 503 of the Simply Inspired podcast, presenting champions specifically. And most of you are used to this by now, but for anyone who's not, I'm joining Seaside, as you can see here, with the fighting philosopher himself. Zac Davenport, and this man has some incredible stories to tell, not only from his journey in the bare knuckle pit fighting world for Spartan Promotions, but also the amazing journey he's been through, the philosophy and the life ethos, I suppose you would call it, that he shares. Some really, really great insights on social media. Most of you will have seen that, but anyone who hasn't, check it out because this is a guy who can really see behind the curtain in life. He's also been through, some very tough fights outside of the pit. I'm going to put it that way. Been fighting demons in different forms. So there's a very important kind of social message that we're going to be getting across here today for other people who've been through their own struggles or going through their own struggles as well. So there's going to be a lot of great content in this talk today, everyone. We'll be about sort of 40, 45 minutes. So stay tuned. And Zach, mate, it's like I was saying, before we started recording, great to meet you. I've seen your fights. I've seen your posts. I've seen so much stuff about you. So to actually be here, face to face or as close to face as we're going to get for now is absolutely awesome. And thank you for making the time, mate. I appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Yeah, awesome, awesome, awesome. So, kicking things off with a little bit about you and a little bit about your life, because people are going to want to know, like, why you do what you do now. But
Yeah.
going back a little bit before that, in terms of like where you're from and a little bit about your background, do you mind sharing with us a little bit about your life journey and kind of where it all began for you, please?
Yeah, not a problem. I'm from Cumbria, um, which if you don't know, it's the Lake District, as they would say. But I'm from the towny aspects of it because I'm from Carlisle, which is a border city. I was born there in 1987. Um, Quite a unusual place, I would have said, to grow up. It can be rough. Um, you get a lot of like rugby players, that kind of area. Yeah, I had an unconventional upbringing, to be honest. I was uh, I was raised by a fella with my mother. Who I called Dad. Um, and yeah, I had all right childhood. It was very, how would you say it? I wouldn't say there was, well, yeah, well, there's a lot of domestic violence that I grew up around, and it it shows these days because what we know about like psychology and stuff, we tend to bring all this shit around with us, and we have like attachment issues, don't we, or detachment issues as well, and because you don't know if you're coming or going, but you don't really know this until you later on in life, I've found. So it's all new to me, that stuff. But yeah, it was unconventional, and it made us who I am though. Definitely, because my outlook on life's all been from experience. It's of I suppose if you want to get into it, Liam, it's a bit I was I was leading a life that probably wasn't me for a long, long time, and this was because of my upbringing. Um, I I took on jobs and roles, and this will splinter from that. That basically weren't actually me. If you would know, I was I was a boy soldier, and in the British Army, I was in the King's Own Royal Border Regiment, but it didn't work out too well. I was out within a year. Um, there's there's no such thing as like stolen valor or anything to do with me because I didn't really do anything. So, um, and I didn't realize it was because of my upbringing that probably I didn't fit too well within the British Army. So, because it wasn't me, I obviously left, took on some meaningless jobs, factories and the likes. I think I was a butcher as well as a boy. But I went, long story short, I started doing the doors, and that's where I started to learn about what real violence was. And I was saying some quite bad things, but I started doing the doors a little bit before I went in the forces, and when I come out, I just started there. But I'll tell you a story about real trauma. I was 16 year old. I was I was walking with a group, and two grown men set up on me, and they bottled me in the back of the head, stabbed us up with it, and I probably got a little bit of brain trauma from that, but I didn't realize at the time. And when it comes to it, because I've been discussing this with a friend recently that says, "Well, you can actually box being like that," and says, "Well, I don't know any different." So it's just become me, and that's just the bare bones thing, because that's my youth, from what I remember of it. Because I'm sure there's a bit of patchy bits about it, and I've not really been a violent person though, which is what's quite remarkable about me. I've never been about fighting in pubs and stuff like that, and I've always been a really good communicator. So I don't know, it's just it comes natural to us. I think I'm not a people person by any means, because you'll see that off my social media posts. I'm a bit of a lone wolf, to be honest. But because I've always kind of thought of myself as a bit peculiar, to be honest, and that's just my own judgment. So it's just that's how I looked at it.
Okay. Now, I'm going to just jump in there a minute, mate. First of all, I want to say, yeah, before we get into anything else, I appreciate the vulnerability of that a lot because I don't care what anybody says. Getting
Mm.
on a podcast and doing like public speaking basically like this and stuff absolutely takes courage, absolutely takes balls, and to share stuff about your life like I said to you when we set this up, I mean, I'm doing these just to help others, so everything I'm talking about is always going to be from the point of view of like somebody else going through a similar thing, how they can change, how they can grow, and what they can do. But, at the same time, it still takes a lot of courage to talk about this. So I appreciate it. Now, as we go deeper into that, I mean, a big part of this is about your mindset because saying what you said there, you are very articulate, is 100% true. And you've got a very, intelligent and self-aware philosophy. And when I'm saying that, I'm not just saying intelligent as in like when you're in school and that they always look at it like, oh, you can remember this date or this fact or this thing. But it's deeper than that because you've been kind of uncovering yourself, or possibly even from what you're saying there, putting pieces of
Mm.
yourself back together again, like a Humpty Dumpty kind of thing. I say that with respect because I've had to do that in my life as well a lot. So as part of why I'm here. So I know how it goes. But anyway, coming back to the question. So is that where it started with your search for, shall we say, your search for truth or your search for like a deeper meaning in life? Because to me, that's something that I absolutely love about you, and it really stands out. Is you are not taking things at face value. You're like digging deep, finding answers about life. So did that start from some of these traumas and some of these things that you experienced?
Yeah, Liam, absolutely. Don't know if anyone remembers, but something quite peculiar happened 5 years ago, where we were all kind of, I would say, mugged off, and that really brought it out. It changed me because I would say I was playing a character, like I said, and that brought the real me out. I was very vocal, and I I wouldn't just be told what to do. And I realised I was I found out off a really good therapist that I'd been masking for years. And if anyone doesn't know what that means, it's if you are what they call neurodivergent, you tend to try and act around certain social situations. Well, I was brought up in the era, obviously, where you were told to sit down and shut up and speak when spoken to. And I do not agree with that. And it came out in droves because my philosophy after that basically came about because I was trying to figure out where's my place in the world. And in a time where the world's actually probably failing. And I just basically, in no uncertain terms, I said the world's full of shit, and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make any sense, and that just brought it out. I mean, I can remember growing up. Probably it was simpler times, and you thought you knew your place in the world, and it was basically just grow up, have fun. You probably get a job, and then you get married and all that stuff. But it turns out the world's just not as like that, and it's a lot more complex, and it's not black and white. It's very grey, and that's just how it all come about. And I just it's like yourself. I just started noticing things. It's and some of the and most of the stuff I didn't particularly like.
Well, I can understand that because you started to notice the arbitrary nature of the decisions people make and the man-made nature of it. And as I said before, seeing behind the curtain. And I love your philosophy, not only like obviously the government and obviously all of that stuff, but also about the human nature as well. Because you said to me, we're all just individuals, and you have this philosophy of embracing your individual self, and I absolutely love that side of it as well. And when you're saying about like finding your place in the world now, and you said about being neurodivergent, you said about all of this kind of stuff, which again I am as well, by the way. Not that that will probably surprise you too much, but you also mentioned about the diagnosis, and as I've said to you, I'm really not a fan of labels, but you have also been through a process of sort of uncovering what I'm going to say is patterns or things
Yeah,
about what make you tick, and I'm not going to really get heavily into labels here, but I still respect very much that journey of like going inwards, because at the end of the day, the problems are inside, so the answer's got to be inside as well. And when you're going through that process of sort of uncovering yourself, do you mind sharing a little bit about that journey, not only for yourself,
yeah,
but for anyone else who's going through similar thing?
yeah. Well, I had what you call a mental breakdown in 2023. Uh, I basically went on a long walk, and how I didn't kill myself, I have no idea. I basically looked up and said, if there's something out there, you better show me now, because but something must have been, because I actually pulled myself together and I started healing. But a part of that healing was I went and seen like the community mental health teams, and I'd already had a diagnosis 10 years prior, something called EUPD, which is emotionally unstable personality disorder. Now, I've learned since that, to be honest, criminals are diagnosed with that, and because it's not something that comes and goes; it's constant. And then lo and behold, they told me, because I thought it was bipolar at first, and that's possibly coming, but they said I've got ADHD as well. So, and chronic depression and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, so have you got any more labels you want to fly at us? Because I was just like, because on a medical report it looks like somewhere else. It's yeah, and that's like, obviously I've had to learn. I do a lot of reading, so I've learned a lot about it, and like, it is overdiagnosed, and it's because they just can't come up with answers these days, it seems. And I don't know if you're like me, but I've got my own opinions on it, and sometimes I think to do away with it, says I am neurodivergent, but like, sometimes I'm like, well, how can I read a book if I've got ADHD in both types, which is hyperactive and inattentive? Because I wouldn't be able to do anything. And being like a bit of a philosopher and stuff, it doesn't really hold.
Well, my opinion on it, is that obviously there have been some developments in the science, and I'm not knocking that, but at the same time, what you say, where there's like, we're all individuals and things, there's
Mm,
also less acceptance, and it's like that. On the one hand, the more we've learned, the less we know fundamentally. And the thing is, it's like it is good. There's more awareness to do with the mental health aspect, but then you say something like that, and it's like, well, okay, emotional unstable. Well, it's like, okay, but that's a response to trauma, isn't it? I mean, anybody looks
mm,
at that, and anyone can see, well, look, that's more. I mean, when I speak to you now, it strikes me more on the sort of post-traumatic type of thing, rather, and I don't say that as a label, I say that as obviously a brain response, and then being more sensitive and more aware anyway, which you obviously are, more intelligent, it's going to have more of an effect. The problem I got with the medical system like that is it's a one size fits all thing. I don't actually have a problem with the development of science, because that is good from a certain perspective, but when they are when they want to medicate people straight off the bat and they don't want to talk to people, when they want to use the power of medication, sledgehammer to crack a walnut, I always say. You want to break a walnut. It's kind of like that, and it's got what should be a last resort with the medication has become a first
mm,
response and some of these kinds of things. Now, I'm not knocking the understanding of the brain and all of this type of stuff biologically, because that's come a long way, and the fact you can have these conversations like we're having now, and that sit down and shut up mentality that you mentioned has got less. I mean, that's great. That's really good, but at the same time, it's got pros and cons. So this is part of the reason I feel very strongly about putting the message out there. Now, I'm going to come back to that in a minute, but before I do, I mean, obviously, people do want to know about the fighting aspect, and I mean, you give us a little bit of a story there about, the back of the head and the crazy situation that happened to you, and you've probably got some crazy stories working the door, which I'd love to hear. But in terms of like the fighting in the pit and any other styles that you've done or anything else you've done, just fighting in general, I mean, it's one thing doing it on the door, but when you're saying, okay, I'm going to do this like professionally, I'm going to get in the pit, and also it's the most brutal around. I mean, everybody knows that, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, all of this stuff is 100% true. Um, where did that sort of begin for you, basically? I mean, that's the question, mate, to be fair.
um, I had a little dip into the white collar when I was, I think, my late 20s. I I done a little bit of that. I got a couple of beatings. Um, and I'm like, boxing's not really for me. Um, and then there's well, everyone knows who he is. there's a fella from Cumbria who got quite big in it, and obviously Danny Christie, and he inspired us because I watched him from even before he started doing the bare knuckle, because I was just following his journey, and I thought, well, and nobody knows this, but me and Danny used to be sparring partners when we were teenagers. So I'd done a little bit of amateur training and stuff. And I thought, what a story. And I'm like, if he can do that mainstream, there's no reason I can't do that and say the lower shows. And I said, let's just see if I can do it. So I seen a post from Charles Shepherd, and he was setting up a ring wars in Cumbria, but it was taking some time to get it off the ground. And I spoke to his nephew Lee, and I was like, all right. I was the first person to sign up for the Cumbria Spartan shows, and I was also the first Cumbrian to fight on the Spartan shows in Cumbria. And lo and behold, I got in touch with Christian Roberts, and I said, I'll fight in the pit. And I signed up for a fight, I think it was in the June, and I fought on Spartan Fight Fest 5. Couple of opponent changes, and I ended up fighting Scott Midgley. And he gave us a baptism of fire, because I think it lasted 30 seconds. And I like, that didn't actually hurt that all that much, and it felt really good. So I thought, well, I want to continue doing this. So then as Christian asked me, do you want to sign up for another? And I went, yeah. And within 2 weeks, he offered us a contract. So, and I've just carried on ever since. I'm on me, if I do in August, it'll be my 5th fight in 12 months. So I've been quite active.
Yeah, that is wild to be fair. I mean, especially in something as brutal and as just unforgiving as that. However, that leads me to an important point because when I speak to the guys, particularly at Spartan, but in any fight
Mm.
sport, I would say there's a very strong healing aspect, which some people look at that and think, okay, a healing aspect, it's violent. I said, no, no, hold on a minute, because like with the trauma and with some of the things you've survived in your life, when I speak to a lot of people, there's very much a process of, like I said earlier, putting yourself back together through this kind of thing. And I'd like to talk about that. I mean, basically, the question here, mate, is like, with these fights, how has it helped you in yourself with like, finding your true self and healing from your trauma and, making peace with the violence, all of these kinds of things, because it's very much an inner journey, isn't it? Not just an outwards,
Yeah,
fight type of thing.
absolutely. I've always said, especially in the pit, it's more spiritual than it is violent. It's uh, it's where men find themselves sometimes. It's because if you don't belong there, you'll find out fast. And I found out I've got a bigger heart than what I thought, and it's definitely a sport for me. I wouldn't say I'm world class, but I can mix it up with the mid card lads. It's not it's there's no doubt about that. Yeah, I actually had a conversation with Andrew Anthony about this. I was just standing at the side of the pit one day, and I'm like, "Do you ever get nervous, Andrew?" And he's like, "No, no, mate. I just love to have a tear up." And it's like, and what I actually figured out was it wasn't nerves; it was anticipation that got to me. I hate all the waiting around, and I just want to get in there. And so it's a funny thing. There's a lot of lads there for a lot of different reasons. Some people like pain. Some people just like to have a fight. Some people are just generally violent. It's like, for me, I'm trying to find something that's not there. It's I haven't found it yet, I keep telling Christian this, says when I do, I'll tell him. It's I'm a very specialty case, like, because I got this another term, disassociation. So I kind of zone out at times, and it's like said, how can you fight like that? And it's like, well, I do, and it's just a part of me. It's because I get this crazy look in my eyes sometimes. I've been told, I'm going to have a good fight. Christian's actually told me this. He said, yeah, the last fight didn't end well, but I'll go into that if you want later. But it's I've got this zoned out kind of look where I'm looking through people, and I don't even know I'm doing it. It just must be where my brain kicks in. I'm like, it's game on, and that's it. It's like every fight is different. It's that's just me. I probably look like I'm having a bit of a mushroom trip or something, but it's like it's it is what it is. I think it's
Yeah.
how I prepare.
Part of you, yeah. I mean, you do hear this from guys. Like, I mean, I've heard
Mm,
it in person. But actually, one of the best descriptions I heard, what I actually read, was in Mark Hunt, the Super Samoan, in his book
mm,
called Born to Fight, where he said he could take pain and put it in a place that's like outside of his head, or words to that effect. And again, that was, abuse and surviving a whole lot of stuff. And I read that and I thought, man, yeah, I mean, I've seen that in a lot of ways with a lot of fighters, and so it actually makes more sense than you might realize.
mm.
So okay, so you're in this state of mind of fighting, but how much of it do you actually remember when you sort of think back to it, or do you have to like watch the fight back kind of thing when you come out of there?
To be honest, Liam, there's times where I don't remember a single thing about the fight, even though I've won it and everything. I'm emotionally blank after every fight. Um, I don't care for win, lose, or anything. Um, and the boss man himself actually described me as I'm not in it for money or glory. I'm in it to control my demons, and because without Spartan and fighting, there'd be a lot of self sabotage. Um, yeah, I've had issues with addiction and, well, multiple addictions, to be honest. I've got a very addictive personality, and yeah, it's just one of those things. It's yeah, just that's one of how I discovered I was quite emotionally blank. The fact that you say, "Can you remember stuff?" And I'm like, "No, not really." It'll maybe come back to us on the day, like, "Oh yeah, he hit me with a good body shot," or something like that, and or I hit him. But apart from that, I don't really remember, and this could be to do with trauma. I don't know, but I don't really remember key aspects of it.
Well, what you were saying earlier about being an individual and
Mm,
all this kind of thing, I'm big on that. Of like working with and working through the tools you've got to work with as a person, and nobody else can really look at that and say, well, is that right or wrong or this or that. I was having this conversation with one of my friends here right before we got on this call. I was saying, well, look, you're in the UK, you steal something, they give you community service. Like I'm in
mm,
Cyprus now. If I go over somewhere in the Middle East and I steal something, they say, hey, which hand? Which was it? Okay, it was this hand, right? The hand is off, And I was saying to
mm,
him, well, like, okay, which one is right or wrong there? And it's obviously subject to, how you grow up and the environment, the religion, all of these things. And, I'm very big on people coming back to their authentic souls and using like what we've actually got without any of the labels, And it's something like with what you're doing and the disassociation and all that, it makes sense. I mean, yeah, it sounds like a survival mechanism and all of this, don't get me wrong, but then it's your way. And the thing about Spartan that fascinates me is it's like not only the healing aspect, but the only way out is through, And it's like
Mm.
pit, the only way out is through. And I think, okay, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And I look at that and I think, well, that's like life. And okay, not for everybody necessarily, but for a lot of people. And I look at it and I talk to guys. I mean, I've probably interviewed, I don't know, 25, 30 guys over the years from the pit. It's not the only people I interview, but I've always had this fascination because I look at my life, I think, hey, it's been the same. It's just the only way out is through.
Yeah.
And so, there's a philosophical aspect to that. I do have to ask one other thing, just so I don't forget about it, because I've also got a bad headache today for some reason. But when it compares to like the door and being on the door and some of the crazy violence you've seen there or experienced personally or seen or whatever, how does it compare with like, being in a pit versus like being on the street and the speed and the viciousness and just the whole system of it, basically, if that makes sense?
Well, in no uncertain terms, there's no shit houses in Spartan, right? I've
Yeah.
seen a lot of I've seen a lot of sneakiness on the streets, um, and a lot of unnecessary stuff. We're all there, and we've got a verbal contract, haven't we? And a lot of the right, and it's a social contract, and you're here for a reason. I'm here for a reason. Says let's do this thing, and we'll check afterwards. Because and this is another thing that I found about the Spartan family, and that's the big thing, that we are a family. And I've met loads of people throughout my life, but I've never met people like the Spartan family, because we're all unique. There's not one fighter that's like another. I mean, if you want a character of people, says I think we'd be all good in a reality program, because there's there's always every documentary we've been on. There's always somebody that sticks out. I mean, I've had no speaking parts yet, but I've been in them all. it's it's uh it's yeah it's you could ask any one of us, because I'm in the process of doing a book myself. Um, I'm gonna start that very soon, and I'm just gonna ask I'm just gonna ask all the lads, why do you fight? Because
Oh,
everyone's got, yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to cut in. I'm sorry, but I just as you were saying that, it's just yeah, that would be absolutely awesome. I mean, yeah, the what's the word for it? Like the makeup, like the
Mm,
internal makeup, like what makes them tick and all that type of stuff. The
mm.
psychology of the fighters would be absolutely fascinating. And yeah, I really hope that you do that. I mean, that's going to be absolutely awesome. So yeah, I didn't mean to cut in with what you were saying. It's just
No, it's not a
just what
problem,
a
mate.
great idea. What a great idea.
It's I've been thinking about it since I think it was Spartan Wars in November. Uh, I was just standing there with Scott Midgley, and we were watching something, and I just thought, why do you fight, Scott? And he's like, because I like to. And it's like, there must be more to it than that. And he just shook his shoulders, says, I don't know.
Yeah.
And this is what I
Well,
mean.
yeah.
Everyone's different.
He's got a hell of a drive to do it, man. I mean, I interviewed Scott a few years ago,
Mm,
because obviously he's a legend, and I think at that time he'd had like more than 40 fights, and obviously
mm,
he's had more since then. I mean, absolute legend. I'm going to give a shout out to him, and I'm going to give a shout out also to Christian Roberts himself for all the lives that he saves. Charles Shepard, all the guys running it with him are great, but like, because he's the original visionary, I absolutely love the guy, and he makes such a difference to a lot of people. I don't even know how much he realizes, but shout out to Christian and a shout out to Scott, who's obviously one of the pioneers. Now, as we move forward into some of these subjects, there's something else that slipped my mind earlier that I think is really valuable to people. I meant to go back to. You mentioned a couple of years ago when you went on that long walk, you mentioned putting them like the message out there saying, hey, if there's something out there, show me kind of thing, or tell me or whatever
mm,
form. And it's one thing when we're looking at like, we've had these conversations, you and me, online about the left and the right, for example, being both branches on the same tree or wings on the same bird or this kind of thing. politically, and it's quite a physical thing, like you were saying earlier about the pandemic and all of this stuff. But I want to go deeper than that because there's obviously a spiritual side as well. And
Yeah.
when you put the message out there saying, hey, if there's something like show me, I mean, if you can put it into words, what was the answer that you got, or what did you experience?
Well, I'm not going to be vulgar, but basically he said, whoever it was, said, get up off your ass now because that's the only way you're going to help yourself. And I don't know what I'd done the next day. I'd got in touch with a friend of mine, and it's where I train to this day because I train by myself, and I didn't care how long it took because it's quite a way to where I train, about a mile and a half, and I walked there every single day just to punch the bag, and I had a broken down body actually. That's another traumatic story as well. Why I had a broken down body, but yeah, and I just pulled myself up, and it got me into somewhat shape, and that's kind of why I started fighting again, because I actually unstuck my own body from a motorbike accident, and I hadn't been doing anything for about 2 years, and how I actually got in the shape to do a pit fight, I have no idea, but I just did, and I've never looked back.
That bit is testament to to
Mm,
your mindset and your willpower and the sort of old school warrior mindset that you have. That I mean, you don't see a whole lot these days. I mean, saying that obviously you do see it more with Spartan, but you don't
mm.
see it as much. But so that thing when you were saying, okay, like get up off your ass and do what you got to do, kind of thing, and it was like, do you think that was like God or like some sort of spirit or like a higher power, or I mean, what, or do you think it was your subconscious, or what sort of?
Um, I have no idea, because I'm not one of the. I'm a bit of a polytheist, to be honest. Um, I I don't say there's no existence of any gods. I'm like, it's whatever your personal belief is, because I feel, in theory, I think it's all just a message anyways. I don't believe it's a physical being. It's probably the universe trying to get you to communicate with yourself, because I've read all the books. I've like the Bible, everything, and there's a lot of crossover, let's just say, and 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 I became, what, how would I put it? Let's just say, if you were to label me with something, it would probably be more like a pagan than anything else, because I don't even call myself that most of the time. But it's just, I'm I'm with nature. I believe we're all interlinked somehow, and that's the way I go about it. I don't trash other religions or anything like that. I just like, there's some funny memes I put up sometimes, but that's about it. It's
Yeah,
it's
I understand, by the way, mate. There's quite a few things you said today which actually make a lot of sense.
mm,
The reason I ask is I've had experiences like that as well, with like, when you heard that several times, and I speak to a lot of people, usually at low points, and obviously they've had this kind of thing. When you kind of put the word out, it's very common, and I just came to the conclusion personally that it's kind of like when you're putting fuel in your car, you're putting petrol,
mm,
diesel, or whatever in your car. But you've got to drive the car, and obviously then you're looking at it saying, hey, I can crash the car, I can drive it well, I can drive it badly, I can do what I want. I can see somebody over there and say, hey, I don't like the guy, I'm going to run him over, kind of thing. I'm in control of the car, but you still need the fuel. And
yeah,
the way I've experienced it myself is kind of like that. It's kind of like the sort of God energy or whatever you want to call it. It's kind of like the fuel, and I do my best to tap into it daily. But it's also, I've got the responsibility and the free will. And I think that the problem is a lot of people look at it as being like a man sitting on a cloud, and then as you say, they then attack someone else and say, hey, it's like this. Whereas my experience is more like there's definitely something there that wants to help me and wants to help people if you listen to it, but it's
Yeah,
not like a being, and it's very, and I'm into this stuff like with Carl Jung and like the synchronicity, where there's patterns in things and there's numbers, and I see the numbers like the angel numbers people call them and all of whatever, just a word for it, but that kind of thing, and it's a fascinating subject in itself that goes even deeper than the psychology. So that's why I wanted to touch on that because people out there having that experience are thinking, "Hey, have I lost my marbles?" And it's like, well, actually, there's more to this world than we understand. So,
yeah. Well,
um,
touching on that, on Carl Jung, I follow a lot of shadow work, so I'm like, I'm big on that, because it scared the shit out of me, to be honest. Um, Dipping into bits of your personality that you don't like and stuff like that. I got very deep into it, and Nietzsche as well, and yeah, I've read all that stuff, and it takes a big man to actually admit that they do have certain aspects of the personality that they probably shouldn't. It's the dark side, let's say. It's I found, like, because I was like a bit jealous and a bit egocentric and everything, so I was I was trying to put that to bed, but then you realise you're never gonna put it to bed because it's a part of you, and it probably is what got things done. And so I was like, okay, there's two parts, two aspects to my personality. You've got your true self and you've got your shadow self, and says let's just deal with it.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm with you on that, mate. 100%. It's something. It's all about like what you do with it, and it's the same thing
Mm,
with labels as well. The other thing I like to do as well is I do a bit of like the meditation type of stuff, and um the increase in awareness, including the self-awareness that comes with that, is absolutely massive because then you can harness it. I mean, what you were saying there about in the pit where you asked one of them, like, why do you fight? And he said, well, I don't know. And it's like, okay, but you should know because then you've got a lot more power to harness, like, your, like the good side, like the angels and the demons. You can harness both of them and
mm,
move forward. So it's a fascinating subject. And as I've said, it's something I absolutely love about you is, that diving deep and the courage that it takes to do so, which is why I said at the beginning that some of your toughest opponents have probably never been in a pit at all. I mean, they've been in here and in here, and
mm.
I know how that goes. So the last couple of things is we're doing really well on a sort of overview of your life is obviously, in terms of your future plans with the pit, I do want to mention that just so I don't forget because you've done a lot in a short time. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you were saying there, like in a 12 months, you've had all these fights. So if we kind of map that trajectory forward, say if we imagine for a minute we're having this conversation like a year from now, where do you think you're going to be? And I say that with, I know you're not doing this to be like a famous person or anything, you're doing it for your inner reasons, but there's still a trajectory going forward, and I'd be very interested to hear about that, please, mate. Thank you.
Well, uh, I was on a bit of it's like a trajectory. I was on like a two win streak. Um, I had in November in the pit, and then I fought Lee Shepherd at uh, Cumbria Ring Wars and Cumbria Carnage, and that was a good go, and that's probably the best fight I've ever been in. Um, I broke my hand though, and it really, really pissed me off. So I missed a Spartan pit fight because of that, and it kind of like put us on. And then obviously I fought in May. I just I had some severe mental health issues, but that's no excuse. Because 2 weeks prior to that, I pulled out of a fight, and then I said I wanted to fight again. Well, that's just my personality, Sean. So I fought a wild card. I moved up a weight to my natural body weight of super middleweight, and the wild card knocked me out because he was really good at reading. And yeah, it's so now what we're looking at is just to get me probably back on the winning side of things. Uh, I'll go as far as my mind will take me, because that's my battle. It's never been about them in the ring. It's always been with me. So, and I'm sure Christian thinks the same. Um, I've I've got all the mental qualities to make a lunatic, but it's just putting them into action, isn't it? It's yeah, it's, as long as my mind can stay somewhat stable, I think you'll see me probably still in 2 years' time, and I'm hoping I'll have won a belt or two. So that's the goal. I really wanted to fight in at Fight Fest this month, but it wasn't going to happen because I'm not medically cleared.
Well, there'll be a lot of big opportunities out there for you ahead
Mm,
of, and I'm really excited to see like what the future holds and where you're going to go from here. And when you got like a belt or two, like you say in there, drop me a
mm,
message again, and we'll do this again, and we'll update everybody
so,
on how that's feeling for you as well. But today, I mean, it's one of those things where you're the kind of guy where I know that today we've only like probably scratched the surface, but at the same time, I'm big on giving people some info they can actually work with and
yeah,
understand, take away and actually apply, and not just listen to and say, hey, that was interesting, but actually say, okay, if there's something I want to work with this, I can actually put it into practice. And whether you realize it or not, some of the things you shared today are really valuable in that sense, in the sense that other people who are going through different things
yeah,
not only mentally in terms of the labels and all that, but like the experiences and the actual,
mm,
development of yourself, how you've grown as a person. It's really inspiring. And what you said earlier when you were saying about the shadows and the courage that it takes to delve deep into like who you really are, the different sides of who you really are. It's a very, very powerful message. I'm going to wrap things up shortly. Before I do you have any final words for your supporters out there and the people who stick by you, the genuine people? I know it's not the reason you do this, you're doing it internally, as I keep saying, but in terms of the people who are solid, genuine
yeah.
individuals who support you, what would you say to them, please, Champ, as a final topic?
Yeah. In this so-called fake world, I would say keep true to yourself. Don't forget who you are. Don't try to be anything you're not. And because I've done that for the longest time, and that's my advice. Um, give some shout outs. Give Christian Roberts, boss man, definitely changed my life for the better. My wife Julie, she puts up with a lot. And we got me corner team. We got Baz Bubs. He's been every single fight that I've been to, and he just carts me up and around the country wherever we decide to go. Because being a contracted Spartan fighter, I just go where the boss man tells me. And yeah, got me mate Danny Robinson. He tries to help us as much as he can because he's like a fellow bare knuckle fighter as well. We've got me mate Carl Nicholson. He does all my training for us. Um, Scott Midgley as well. He's my bare knuckle mentor, to be honest. Because if I've got any questions and I'm not sure about anything, he'll just ask them. like answer them for us. And Phil Hammond, of course, because he's a big inspiration of mine. The fact that he can just keep going, and it's his last fight this month, and yeah, there's lots of people, and there's Lee Shepherd, Charlie Shepherd, there's Ben Greenslade. They've been nothing but good with us with the local Spartan shows. So yeah, it's just and a big shout out though to Wellington Farm and the Stamper family, because they've allowed me to train and I've not been charged anything. So it's all about respect and loyalty, like, and it goes a long way these days. Well, there's a lot of people, especially with Spartan, that's helped us.
I'm glad to give them a mention because there's so many people behind the scenes who are helping fighters and helping people in general, and they don't
Absolutely.
get the credit they deserve in a lot of ways, and so today giving them a shout out is
Yeah.
powerful. And yeah,
The
be true to yourself. Sorry, go
the
on.
one Liam, because one of the biggest ones behind the scene is Chris Say, and the medic. Him and his
Yeah.
team are fantastic, and like they've always treated me with respect, and I show it back, and he just doesn't get enough credit, and it's and that's just one I have to say, because I've been guilty in the past of leaving Chris out, and the entire team, Adam as well, and Naomi.
Yeah, they're good guys. They're good guys. I've seen them work on other shows actually when I was still in the UK, and they're good, solid guys. So everyone you mentioned there, mate, good guys, good hearts and good real people, authentic people. So I'm really glad that we've given them a mention. We've talked about some great stuff today, mate. Like I said, I'm sure we're going to do a part two one day. When you've won the belt and when you've done everything else that you're going to do. But for today, I've loved talking about the fights. I've loved delving deep with you, into some of the philosophy and what makes you tick. And, like I said before, the vulnerability, the courage it takes to do this. Big respect on that as well. And I know that you put a lot of it out there on social media and you share a lot of good wisdom. But nonetheless, I got all the respect in the world with that because, we need more real people in this world, as we've touched on that as well. So, massive respect to you, mate. Massive big thank you for doing this, and I'll send this to you as soon as it's ready. Hopefully over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. If not, it'll be sort of early next week. But I'll get this to you as soon as I can, and we'll get it out there and share your story to as many people as we can, and we'll go from there. We'll obviously keep in touch. But I really, really appreciate your time, and it's been an awesome, absolutely awesome talk. Really, really enjoyed it, and I hope you have as well. To be fair.
Cheers, brother. It's I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, I know that when you set out doing this, this wasn't necessarily your intention to be known like this, but at the same
No.
time, you've earned the right to speak on these things. So I hope we've helped to get like your story out there and your message, your sort of what you represent as a human being out there. And I believe that'll help some people, and hopefully it'll help you as well. And obviously, even more people watch your fights and everything. So just on every count, we win. So yeah, big love and
Absolutely.
respect to you, to your family, and I will speak with you very soon. Have a great end of your day and everything. A great afternoon, evening. It's 2 hours on over here. It's 6:30, so what's it? A few half
Yeah.
four. So yeah, have a great afternoon, and 100%. I'll speak with you very soon. Okay, mate. Well,
Cheers, brother.
pat on the back. You've done a great
Yeah.
job. Thank you.
Have a good one.
And
Bye,
you.
man.
Cheers. Ta-ra.
Yeah, man.
Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.